So we have an opportunity this week internationally for something to be done about the vaccine patents that are stopping so many countries that are currently being destroyed by the pandemic from being able to domestically manufacture vaccines. That's gonna be considered. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to take stock of here in the US, who's in favor of getting rid of the patents and who's not. And more importantly, why? So why don't we start with those who are against it? Some with their silence and some sort of vocally against anything being done about these patents, anything being done to sort of balance the scales, with the scales having on one side billions in profits for a few mega corporations and the other a couple million people's lives. So there was great reporting over the HuffPost. Daniel Moran's reported late last night that 110 House Democrats have signed on to a letter calling on President Joe Biden to support India and South Africa's proposed vaccine patent waiver at the WTO, which is set to consider the idea again this week. So that's good that they are in favor of it. As The Intercept reported last week, factory owners around the globe from Bangladesh to Canada have said that they stand ready to retrofit facilities and move forward with vaccine production if given the chance. So if the patents are gotten rid of, if the information is given to them, they can begin spooling up their factories, produce the vaccine, and hopefully stop some needless suffering and death. For instance, the manager of Incepta, a pharmaceutical firm in Bangladesh, says they can do 600 million to 800 million doses per year. So we throw this out there because there's this belief, Wosny, like maybe not stated, that like what's the difference if we get rid of the patent? These countries couldn't possibly produce a liquid that goes in a vial. I feel that that's out there, and I just want to remind people, no. They already make vaccines, they can make this one, and they really, really need it. But anyway, as alluded to, I will get to those who are against it, but what do you think so far?
This is just ugly. It's ugly. It's capitalism at its ugliest. Not everything needs to be a method or a mode by which you turn a buck. You know, like a global pandemic shouldn't probably be where you apply your profiteering, avaricious instincts. You should probably fall back and chill and honestly get in front of being like, you know what? We're gonna save lives. We're waiving it. We're putting lives over dollars. But of course not. These are potentially hundreds of millions, if not billions of customers. That's how the pharmaceutical companies are seeing it. So it's like, why would we give up that huge customer base when we could just rein in, make it rain profits for how long, right? And it's just morally just unconscionable and disgusting. It's horrible because there's no justification for this besides just pure profit-driven motive. That's it. Yeah. Nothing else comes before that. Not human lives, not the well-being of others, not any humanitarian streak. Not that capitalistic endeavors ever really have humanitarian streaks, but again, like sometimes these big companies like to feign like they care about anything other than money. This is nasty.
Look, nothing but love, but I gotta admit, you're coming off like a guy that's never wanted to install a yacht elevator in your house or have some choice in yacht. I like to color coordinate my boat shoes with my yacht, and I'm not gonna get to that by caring about whether a couple of million people, Brazil and India, die, okay? But no, obviously, I agree with you. I understand that this story is both objectively complex, I think, and also we need to understand there's a lot that, I'm not an expert in this, I don't understand. I had I think a simple solution that I talked about on the show yesterday, which is we take like $1 to $2 trillion and we just buy doses and give them freely to the rest of the world. I know it seems crazy, the idea that America would spend even one of its cents on saving people's lives, but considering all the damage we've done, which you've talked about previously, seems like a good idea. That's clearly not gonna happen. Tucker Carlson's face would explode on camera, which is a nice side effect. But anyway, so we're not gonna do that. Maybe we can get rid of the patents. But while we talked about that letter with the 110 House Democrats that have signed on to it, which by the way is like less than half of the caucus, so not a good look for half of them. Why aren't more people on there? Well, as Daniel Moran's of HuffPost, again, going to his reporting, noted, none of the 9 House Democrats among Congress's top 25 recipients of donations from pharmaceutical industry PACs have signed the letter, which is like the weirdest coincidence. So weird. None of them, none of the 9. And by the way, for you Tolkien fans, I love that the people most evil in this story are the 9. But anyway, Democratic reps Scott Peters and Ron Kind, they're number 7 and 19, by the way, on the top 25 list, have actually solicited support for another letter to Biden asking him to not waive the intellectual property rules. No word yet on if the letter will actually be written in the blood of international peasants who will die thanks to their advocacy for pharmaceutical funds. But anyway, yeah, so look, they're not signing on to it. They may have their own letter, and there's, for every one of those 9, there's more than 10 others who are just not saying anything. They just really don't have any opinion on this. And when you think about how many lives are at stake, and by the way, let's say that you didn't care about lives. We always have to consider that our country and the world is filled with sociopaths. How do you expect the international economy to function if some of the largest countries in the world are continually racked by COVID for the next 5 years? And then when you create this massive breeding ground for further mutated strains of the virus, I'm sure that'll never come back to the US. I don't know, Wosny, it just seems in every way you can conceive, it seems short-sighted, cruel, arguably evil.
But it's the system, right? This is textbook corruption. This is textbook, by the book, definitional corruption. Yes, our campaign finance laws are such that it's legal for pharmaceutical companies to lobby certain politicians and get their agenda through at the expense of literally everybody else. Like, and I mean like everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Like that this small group of people can have, you know, sort of their will exerted upon the government is just kind of crazy, but this is what it is. And, you know, a lot of times we do a lot of moralizing about the Dems and the Republicans and et cetera, but the system is such that, man, if I don't care whether you have a D or R in front of your name, if people are paying for you to keep you in power, you're gonna do their bidding. I don't care who you are. I don't care how principled you are fundamentally. I don't care how, like, you know, idealistic you might be. Whoever's signing them checks is who you're gonna support. And that's what we're seeing from these Democratic congressmen. Like, it's obvious that they've been bought and paid for by the big pharmaceutical companies.
Clearly.
To the point where they're willing to put their names on this. This is insane to me.
Well, look, I think you're 100% right. I think that these Congress people have been bought off. They've been paid, I don't know exactly how much, but apparently enough for these people to quietly, patiently watch as tons and tons and tons of people needlessly die. I guess it's good money. I don't know, I've never really had access to it. What you're supposed to have in this case then is a leader of the party who will beat them over the head with whatever is necessary to get them to fall in line. President's supposed to be the leader of the party. Is he the leader of the party?
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.